I welcome you all to week 2 of the course, and today we will be discussing how to research in a moot court competition. That's the first part of our discussion today, and going forward we will also discuss on how to draft a memorial. So first let's begin with the first aspect, which is how to research in a moot court competition. Now, by now, you all must be aware of the basics of moot court competition. What is a moot problem? How does a moot court function? I'm sure you all must have seen the video which was given to you for week 1 and the course content as well. Research is one of the most important aspects of a moot court competition and for moot preparation. Now, when we talk of research, it is the founding stone of a moot proposition or for a moot preparation. So let me tell you why researching is so important and why so much emphasis is being laid on the concept of researching in a moot court competition. Now, research involves primarily two things. First is that you have to interpret the moot problem. Unless you have interpreted the moot problem, unless you're aware of what the moot problem actually contains, you will not be able to identify the areas of law on which you have to research. The second important aspect is that for the purpose of researching, it is very important for us to devise an effective research plan or an effective research mechanism. Now, how do we actually devise an effective research mechanism? For that, we'll have to first, as I said, interpret and understand the moot proposition. Second, we will have to identify the key issues in a moot court problem. As I explained to you in the last week, that in some moot court competitions, the organizers do give a list of issues which comes at the end of the moot problem. However, in some moot court competitions, you have to cull out the issues from the moot problem and then prepare your memorial. So either ways, identifying the key issues is one of the most important aspects before we go and research on the specific areas of law. The second important aspect which we have to keep in mind is also that we need to research on how an issue which you want to argue before the court can be proved. So when I say that we have to identify key issues, it is also to do with identifying those issues for which you know that you will be able to cull out, research and prove it going forward in your memorial. We also need to research on what the opponent may raise contentions in regard to. So opponents' issues and opponents' contentions are also something which we have to identify when we are talking about researching in a moot court competition. These are the three aspects which we have to talk of when we talk of researching. Now, let me discuss the first element of this, which is the importance of interpreting the moot problem. Now, why we have to interpret the moot problem is because we need to identify the key issues. That's the goal why you need to interpret the moot problem. How will you interpret the moot problem must be your question which you might be facing in your mind right now. So the first step towards interpreting the moot problem is to read the problem over and over again and read the problem carefully. Why do you have to read the problem carefully? Is because the problem defines the boundaries within which one has to argue and present his whole case before the judge. Now, the moot problem basically gives you a set of facts. I explained this to you in my last week's lecture. So the moot problem gives a set of facts to you. Within those set of facts, you have to make your case and present it before the judge. Now, the most important aspect or the key aspect that you should keep in mind while interpreting the moot problem, or one of the tips that you should actually keep in mind, is that you should make a timeline of facts in relation to your issue. Or first, for that matter, just make a general timeline of the sequence or the series of facts which have been listed in the moot court problem. Once you have the timeline of facts or the series of events in front of you, then it will be easier for you to understand what exactly the moot problem wants to convey to you. So the interpretation will be easier if you have a chronology of facts in front of you. That is the key element here which you should keep in mind while interpreting the moot problem. Once you have that, it's important for you to make a timeline of all the relevant facts for your issues or for the contentions that you will be raising. Why I say relevant facts is because in a moot court competition, or for that matter in a moot problem, you will be given a set of facts. Some facts might be relevant to you, Some may not be as relevant to you. I will not term them as irrelevant because none of the facts in the moot problem are irrelevant. So let's just say some are more relevant to you and some are less relevant to you. So you will have to, after you prepare the timeline of facts for the whole moot problem, it's suggested that you prepare a timeline of facts in relation to the specific issue that you have identified. Always remember that facts which are given in a moot problem are never in dispute. So you cannot argue against the facts. Facts are the same throughout for all the teams which are participating. All you can do is that you can mold the facts in a manner that it suits your case. But while I say that, also keep in mind that you cannot add any new facts to make your case strong. Mold the facts to suit your case is one. However, adding facts to suit your case is not suggested and it's not encouraged in a moot court competition. All facts are relevant, as I explained, and they play a crucial part in the course of the argument. Identify key facts per issue. Now, for example, if I have 4 issues that I have been able to cull out from the moot problem, out of which, let us say, the first issue is whether this honorable court has jurisdiction under Article 132 of the Constitution of India or not. It is advisable for me to cull out the relevant facts for this particular issue and keep them in a separate document. This will help you going forward when you actually draft your memorial, because when you are drafting your memorial, you will have to take into account the key facts which you have for a particular issue. Put those facts, put the law, and then prepare your argument. So this will be important at that stage. So that is why it's important for us to identify key facts per issue. So this is on the interpretation of the problem. Now, the other important aspect which you might be figuring out would be that how should one identify key issues? Of course, this is going to be a challenge for especially people who must be doing moot courts for the first time, or for those who may not have a very strong understanding of certain areas of law. However, I will try and explain you how you can identify the key issues here. Now, once you've gone through the moot proposition over and over again, you will at the end of it understand what is the point of clash. When I say point of clash, I mean what is the exact issue. Suppose a moot problem is based on the law of contract, and suppose at the end of it you realize that there were 2 parties and A and B entered into a contract for say supply of some certain goods, and B was the supplier. B was failed to supply that amount of goods to A, and there was a breach which arose, breach of contract. So when you read the facts, you will understand that the point of clash here is the failure on part of B to supply the goods, which ultimately led to the breach of contract. All right. So you will have to read the problem, which is why I focus so much on understanding the moot problem in a chronological structure. Once you have that in front of you, you will be able to easily identify what is the point of clash. So it is important for you to identify that. Then you will be able to identify what are the issues which you can focus on, for which you have sufficient material relevant facts in your favor. Next aspect is that you should always focus on the relevant facts. So only key relevant facts should find place in your written submissions, and less relevant facts should be used as and when needed. Now, these less relevant facts can be used in drafting some small issue, or for drafting a sub issue, or at the time of your arguments, at the time of your oral arguments. But while you're making your submission before the court, while you're drafting your main issue on the particular fact, you should only focus on the relevant facts as much as possible. The reason why we stress or we emphasize so much on focusing on relevant facts is also because when you present your memorial or when you present your argument before the judge, you should be able to tell the judge that these are the 5 key relevant facts that you are relying upon for this particular issue. This is this law that you have relied upon. These are the authorities, and hence this is your submission. It also shows to the judge the clarity of understanding that you have out of the moot problem, which is why we always emphasize on focusing on the relevant facts. Now, research plan. This is very important when we talk of the importance of research in a moot court competition. Now, I mentioned to you in the beginning that you have to have an effective research plan in place. How can you devise this effective research plan? These are three, if you look at the slide right now, there are three boxes that I have specifically put. The first box talks of background research. Now, when we talk of research for a moot court competition, it is very important for us to cater to background research. Now, what do you mean by background research? Now, background research is basically we need to identify the jurisprudence which is behind this given set of facts. Now, if you know that your problem is based on breach of contract, it's ideal for you to do a little bit of a background research, generally on the jurisprudence which has developed on breach of contract before you move to specific research. So these are, let's just say, 3 steps of devising a research plan. The first step is the background research. You should understand and read general articles and blogs on the points which have been mentioned in a moot court problem. Now, preliminary research. These are to do with the facts which you have in hand. Now, what is preliminary research? Preliminary research is to see that whether the facts which have been given to you in this particular moot court competition, does it resemble any case which has already been decided with similar set of facts or not? That is your first point of preliminary research which you should keep in mind. Second is that you should also, in case you have been able integral part of your entire research for a moot court competition. Now, when I talk of preliminary research, what I want to say here is that you need to identify make a preliminary check whether the facts which have been given to you in a particular moot court problem, whether they are similar or identical to any set of and to any case which has already been decided by the courts in India, whether they have some sort of a resemblance with the set of facts which have been already taken into account while making some decision in by taking some decision. So this is very important. Now, the second aspect is identifying the issues to be raised from either sides and facts supporting it from the given moot problem. Now, when you talk of preliminary research, identifying issues also forms a very important aspect of this. Now, when we talk of issues, as I took an example of breach of contract. Now, when you do a preliminary research and read some cases, you may come across the issue of breach of contract, which has been taken in various other cases and judgments also. So you may call out those and identify how that issue was actually dealt with in that particular case and whether you can take some clue from that in your set of facts which have been given to you. All right. The third important aspect of your research plan is specific research. Now, specific research, as the name suggests, is to do with looking at specific legal databases. Now, here we become very technical in our approach. Okay, so if you would understand and notice, we are moving from a general approach to a specific approach, right? We did a general background research, which obviously general research has 2 aspects to it: the background research and the preliminary research. And the third is the specific research, right? Now, when we talk of specific research, we talk of researching on your legal databases. I'm sure you all may have access to Manupatra or SEC online or other legal databases. So you will have to look up specifically on these legal databases vis-a-vis the issues that you have been able to formulate. Okay. You also have to understand that books and commentaries and journals play a very important role when we talk of specific research. So once you've identified the specific issues, it's very important for you to focus on some relevant books and commentaries. So it is very important. So suppose if I'm dealing with the constitutional law aspect, I will definitely refer to D.D. Basu's commentary, because I know that D.D. Basu's commentary is one of the most important commentaries on constitutional law in India, right? So that is how you have to identify the books and the commentaries that one needs to check. And of course, various journals and online databases which are now available to you. So this is on devising a research plan. Now let me tell you some tips, general tips on researching. First and the foremost is, of course, that you should follow the research plan, which I've just discussed with you. If you follow the research plan, you will be able to divide your time, cull out the research basis a particular issue, and you will have time to review your research very well before you start drafting your memorial. Sometimes what happens is, in a lot of moot court competitions, a lot of teams want to research on all issues together. I believe that that just creates a lot of confusion, and it seems like the team has no direction whatsoever. So it is very important that when you are researching, you devise a plan and then research. Other aspect to this is that if a moot court consists of 3 members in it, the research can also be divided amongst these 3 people. So suppose one person can research on the aspect of jurisdiction. One person can research on the aspect of breach of contract. Right. So it's very important, once you've devised your research plan, it's very important to also divide it. Devising it is one thing, but dividing it amongst the members is one thing. All right. The other aspect is, the other tip that I may give you is that you should always develop a key theme on your issue. You should always try and focus on a central argument of the issue that you may have. All right. It's very important for you to develop that key argument or key theme. Now, why you have to do this is because this gives a clarity to the judges as to what is your line of argument that you're wanting to take. So it's very important that you develop a key theme or identify a key theme. Okay. The other aspect is, of course, it is most important for you to identify the key laws and legislations and the recent developments in that particular area of law. That is very important. So if suppose we are talking of, let's just say, contractual dispute, it is very important for the team to identify the key laws which are a part of this. So of course you will read through the law of contract, you will read through the Indian Contract Act. You may also have to look up at the Evidence Act. You may also have to look up at the Sales of Goods Act, because sometimes a contractual dispute does have these elements to it. So you may have to look up at these other legislations also. So that is very important for a team to understand, or for a member who's participating in a moot court to understand, to identify the appropriate legislations and laws to support their arguments, and to always keep in mind what have been the recent developments on that particular area of law. So if you have the branches of law that you are to research on, you will have a framework, you will have a structure in front of you, and you will be able to arrive better at your legal conclusions. So if I know that my branch of law is law of contract, my issue is whether A committed breach of contract or not, and I am appearing on part of A, then I know that my legal conclusion is that I have to give is to support my view that A did not commit breach of contract. So this is how you should structure your framework when we talk of arguing, or when we talk of preparing an issue or researching for an issue. So these are some general tips on researching. When you read your moot problem, I hope this comes handy to you, and I hope you will be able to take help from the research plan that I have just discussed. In the next segment, I will be discussing about how you should go about drafting a memorial. Thank you.